Good morning! I was gonna do a Good Morning Vietnam thing, but that didn't really work out. And as I was saying it, I'm like, stop, don't do it. But I did it anyway, and then I explained it. So, I don't know. I guess maybe today we got like kind of a big day in the shop. Today we're gonna be doing 3 big things on the E30 N54. First, we're gonna be laying over the harness and figuring out where the DME should be installed, and start, at least, installing the box in which the DME and all the other electronics are going to end up getting installed. Because remember, we're moving the battery to the trunk. Second thing, we're going to be doing air intake. We're just going to be measuring and understanding where the air intake filters are going to end up getting installed. And we're going to at least fab up the first one. Not sure about the back one yet. Back one's going to be a little bit more challenging. And third and finally is the engine removal. Today we're removing this engine and we're going to start on the maintenance, the preventative maintenance stuff. The litany of items that we got to do, like everybody who works on an N54 has to do. We will have the convenience of doing it while it's out of the car and everything is accessible. We're going to be doing a lot of preventative maintenance in the next video, but today we're going to be removing the engine and taking an evaluation of what needs to be done. Start collecting the parts, take a look at the wiring harness. We'll be doing air intake. Good stuff today, guys. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. That's right. I took off the cover. Doesn't matter. We're taking the engine out. We're gonna be cleaning everything up anyway. So I know that there's no cover on the valve right now. The valve assembly, that's okay. No big deal. We got to remove the intake manifold. We got to remove a couple of other things that we already did install to make the engine removal a lot easier. Because remember, we have no core support. So the core support is removed. It is going to be so easy. It's going to take 3 minutes to remove this engine. And that's it. I mean, well, we'll remove the engine and then that's it. We'll evaluate and we'll figure out what parts we have and what we need to continue to buy, and then just do it. Start doing it. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. So before I remove the engine, what I need to do is lay over the engine harness. Why? Because I need to figure out where the DME is going to actually get installed. The battery used to be here, but I think I want to take the battery and put it into the trunk. I got a battery relocation kit with a long 2-gauge wire that's going to end up getting snaked along the frame rail and back. So that's going to afford me this location to put something here that's going to help to give the engine bay a shaved look. And what I want to do is I want to install the DME. Number 2 reason why I want to do that is because the wiring from the engine harness to the DME is not long. It's actually quite short. I believe on the E60 it's a little bit longer, which allows you to snake it into here, but we have an E92 harness, which is shorter, pigtails. So we're gonna actually be forced to put our DME here unless we extend about 50 or 60 wires, and I'm not planning on doing that. So we're gonna put the DME right here. So let's lay over the harness.
Oh, it went dark.
It's okay. No, leave it. It's okay. It's still recording.
I can't see what I'm actually recording.
Then, okay. You can touch the screen then.
Oh, let's come back.
Technical difficulties. It's still recording, watch. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So you
We're good.
can just touch it every once in a while.
Gotcha.
Screen went dark. No big deal.
No big deal.
I just need a phone to watch, Chris. So, ideally, the harness is going to end up getting routed up and around like this. I don't care about anything over here. What I care about is over here. This is where the engine connector is. The other engine connector is right here. Right in here. And the X6001 connector is going to get embedded into one of these. I believe it's right up in here. So when we lay this over, this is for the injectors. So that's going to end up sitting like that. What's going to end up looking like is something along these lines. So all of the wiring is going to end up getting buried into this little box here. I want to make a box out of 16-gauge metal, and I want to enclose it. I want to make it weatherproof, and then I can work on the DME installation. So what I want to do first is, now that I know that the relays are going to have a place to get installed, the fuses are going to have a place to get installed, and the DME will have a place to get installed, I think I know that I'm okay to do this fab work after I remove the engine. Okay, so I got my trusty friend Chris Chinsky. Call him Chinsky. Yep. Okay, he's got an F30, F32 actually, it's a 2-door, 435. So he's got the N55 engine, so he wants to learn a little bit about how these engines work and what it usually takes to do something like this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into a quick time lapse, remove the engine, put it onto my engine stand, and then we'll take a quick evaluation of what is needed to make this thing fully functional in terms of preventative maintenance. Do you think that we're ready to remove this thing?
You got all the bolts and tackle off?
Tackle?
Bolts and tackle?
Bolts and tackle? You know, I think I want to take the steering column off, because I think the oil pan is going to hit the steering column. What do you think?
Yeah.
You think removing the steering column's the right thing to
Need
do?
it a few times, so it should be alright.
Okay. Just smack, little smackaroony.
Righty, tighty, lefty, loosey, buddy. That's all there is to her.
I learned from the best.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on, little fella. Are we ready to take this face off? Here we go. All right, we got the engine out. Not too hard, not too bad, not too difficult, but we need to get this thing on an engine stand. Last time I did this on the E36 M3, I actually kept it on the engine hoist, but as you can tell from some of the old videos that I did, it was bouncy and it was really difficult to torque things because everything was always moving around. But I want to put this thing on the engine stand, I want to turn everything upside down, I want to really get everything installed the right way, oil pan gasket and bolts, I want to do the intake manifold, walnut blasting. So we'll go through that in a minute, but first let's take off this transmission, let's get it mounted to the engine holder, and then we can start assessing what kind of preventative maintenance we need to do. Okay. All right, so let me tell you, this guy, Chris, he's an expert in BMW engines. He knows what he's talking about. Listen and take notes. Very, very valuable advice. All right, tell us what we just did here.
Well, we removed the engine. That's part one. There's a lot of nuts and bolts that go into doing that. You have different jacks and hydraulics that are each part of the equation overall. So now that we've done that, we removed out the turbo leg booster modules. We got the tranny and casing surrounding gaskets and washers off. So we pulled that out. She's right over here on the floor. Right now, this is a 498 76B version of the transmission. High performance BMW. It's German, actually.
Spoken like a true enthusiast.
This over here, we have you got your spark plugs in there. You got your turbo gasket leg brackets over there. Different hoses and belts and whatnot. They're all very important items. Over here you got your CAN converter timing turbo pulley gear system setup. It's also...
If that's not descriptive enough, I don't know what is.
The chain actually is what they call it here in the States. And then you have oil cap for filtering of essential oils. Right, was that good monologue?
That was good. That was good. That was really good. Now let's bring this thing down and have it sitting on its own weight. It's a half-ton engine stand, and I'm dealing with about 500 pounds. Half-ton is 1,000 pounds. I think I'm fine. Okay, everything's basically set up. Took a few hours to get everything cleaned and set. Engine is sitting in its position on the mount. I got, this is actually really nice and strong, so I can turn it any way that I want. We're going to start off with the turbos. Let's talk about the turbos. We are going to be doing a complete turbo rebuild in terms of gaskets and seals, and we're going to be doing the wastegate rattle fix. This is really bad, you can see. So both of those need to be fixed. I have the kit for that. The exhaust headers are on. We're going to remove them, do all of the O-rings, all the seals. For the coolant pump, we're going to be replacing the coolant pump and the thermostat. We're going to be going with a low temperature coolant thermostat, which is going to be kind of cool. The engine's going to run a little bit cooler, which is good. So moving around, we have an oil pan gasket. So we're going to be replacing the oil pan gasket. We got a new power steering pulley. We have all new pulleys, including idler pulleys, and we have a new belt. You can see that here. We got a new belt. Actually, the belt's not in yet, but we got all of our new pulleys and tensioners. We're going to be removing the compressor. So this is going to be a compressor delete solution here. So we're going to save a little bit of room, a little bit of weight there. This is the 2-wire coolant sensor that goes directly to the DME. We're going to be replacing it with a 4-wire coolant sensor that goes in here. 2 of those wires are still going to the DME. The other 2 are going to be reserved for the instrument cluster. We're also going to be doing the oil pan, the oil filter housing, oil pressure sensor. We're going to be replacing all the bolts, all the seals and gaskets inside of here that are prone to leak and drip on the entire front of the belt and accessories, so that actually leads to early failure, belt failure, which then sucks the belt in through the crank, and it's really bad stuff, and it's a big repair. So we're replacing all that. We are going to be replacing the seal for the main seal. This actually did fail. The belt failed, so it sucked the seal in. I cleaned and removed all of the belt material, so just replacing the seal at this point is all that I need to do. Moving along here, we're going to clean this up good, man. This is like, look how dirty this is. Like, unbelievable how dirty it got. We're gonna clean all this up. We're gonna give it a nice high-level paint job. We're just gonna kind of paint it up and make it look nice. This thing is gonna be slick. It's gonna be clean. We're gonna be blasting the intake valves. That's right. This is the intake valve blast tool. It's got a vacuum attachment that goes right in here. The vacuum goes right on this side, and then you blast with your walnut blaster right through here. So we're gonna end up doing both. This is a 2-person job, so I'm going to need some help, but I'll show you and have a dedicated video on how to do that if you haven't already seen it through the hundreds of other videos that are on YouTube. Regardless, knock sensors go here, so we're gonna replace the entire wiring harness. We're going to be doing the valve cover gasket here, valve cover gasket. These are index 12 injectors, so we're going to be actually these actually are already index 12, so we're just going to remove them, clean them up, and reinstall them. We're going to clean up this whole head because it was kind of open to the elements as the car was kind of sitting there, so that's not good. Got to clean that up. And what is the last thing we need to do here? No, I guess that's it. We are going to try to hide the boost solenoids. The boost solenoids typically hang off right here on these bolts. There's actually a this is the boost solenoid assembly, and it kind of hangs off, and you know, I'm not a big fan of it. To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of it. I don't like it. I want to actually try to hide it and figure out where I can hide it to keep the engine bay looking slick. So we have all of our parts here to kind of finish this up. We got all of our parts here basically laid out. We have our coils, we have our boost solenoids, we've got all of our parts for the turbo rebuild, and new power steering pulley. So we are in a very good spot to start doing this preventative maintenance. Guys, that just about does it for today's episode of the N54 E30 Swap. I know I didn't talk much about the engine bay, and the reason is because I want to save that for a complete new episode dedicated to engine bay shaving, welding, removing, and working on the electronics as well. That's a big part of this thing, is making sure that we have a nice shaved engine bay with hidden electronics. We want to make sure that this N54 is sitting pretty. Guys, special shout out to my friend Chris Chinsky. We call him Chinsky for short. He does not know much about cars, as you can probably tell, but he's learning. I'm learning more every day. He's got a cool F32. I like it. Guys, my name is Frank Macaluso from Garageaholic. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. In fact, the more thumbs down I get, the better I will do in my channel. The more videos you'll get, the better everything is for everyone. So the more thumbs down, the better. My name is Frank Macaluso from Garageaholic, and I'm out of here. Take it easy, later.